Hey, Nergi Ponchi, have you seen Gaijin?
Yep. He's in a Eorzea, Meowster.
Okay, I'll grab him.
He needs to raid in 2 hours, though. You better hurry up.
No. Listen, Gaijin, I don't have time to explain. We gotta go.
Let's go.
Hello, everyone. Rurikhan here coming at you with another episode of the Third Fleet podcast. I'm not exactly sure which episode we're on. It's either 74 or 75. I'll be sure to include that in the title. And I'm here with Gaijin Hunter. How you doing, Gaijin?
Shields up. Doing good. How about you?
I am sick, but other than that, I've been having a complete
We
blast.
knew that.
Yes, I'm sick in all of the best ways, of course. Not like sick in a bad way or anything. No, I'm sick in all of the best ways, naturally, because that's the way to do it. But I was able to basically peer pressure you into doing a podcast yesterday as you showed up on the stream.
No, I always like talking once we have events and we get some news. That's always a good time to talk.
Yeah, we have a lot of things that we're going to be talking about. We'll start by talking about most of the Monster Hunter stuff, and then we might touch up on some Final Fantasy XIV things, because obviously...
Don't tease me like that.
It's just a little... It's just a little bit, though. Just a little bit. You'll notice
this
that...
will be Monster Hunter focused.
Gaijin's avatar is slightly different. We went ahead and we used another website to create another avatar because the previous one wasn't working. I mean, for those of you watching the VOD, because there's also some of you going to be listening in on audio. Yeah. But, train coming by all of a sudden. But yeah, you haven't touched Monster Hunter for a while still, right? You're just like, okay, let's see what this
the
update
last
brings.
time I touched it, I think it was the last title update.
You played a little bit?
Added... Oh, yeah. I farmed the living heck out of, was it Lucent Nargacuga and the Flaming Espinas? Was that the last update?
No. That was like one of the first updates.
Well, hang on. I might be confused here. Hang on a second.
Last update I think was like, wasn't it Violet Mizutsune? No, it was Chaotic Gormagala. Or was it both? I think it was Chaotic Gormagala.
I faced them both.
It might have
been
them
both. So I did them a little. I didn't make their sets though. But they were cool.
You didn't make their sets? Aw.
No.
Dude, like, Chaotic Gormagala's gun lance is potentially...
That was a cool fight.
It is potentially one of the best gun lances they've ever made in terms of, like, pure stats, because you can
wait. I did make the Violet Mizutsune, but I don't think that was added in this last one. Was it?
I don't know. It might have been but
I did make the full set for that.
Wait, you know, like we're talking about this, and it's like now it's killing me inside. I'm pretty sure it was Violet Music, but I'm gonna tell you exactly if it was or if it wasn't, just to make sure that we get the information right. It's just, guys, these things tend to. No, it wasn't. It was Chaotic Gormagala, Risen Tio, and Risen Kush, and that was the one.
Oh yeah.
Where you got upset because you couldn't. Start
I can't face the other two monsters, so to me that was a Chaotic Gormagala update, which was solid. It's a great monster, great fight. Teostra, sorry, I don't have 80 hours to grind mindlessly to get you. I'm sorry.
I do feel like those master ranks are quite high, because like I swapped I'm in the process of swapping my main save to Switch, and by swapping it basically means grinding the crap out of it. Mostly because of the fact that the portability of the Switch has been particularly useful for me recently. I've been having a lot of social events that I need to be at, and I've had to go to the doctor, take care of some stuff, and basically being able to carry the Switch around, I'm like getting a lot of game time in. And there's just also the fact that most of the people that I was playing with on PC, they don't really play the game anymore. Yeah. So I'm like, well, now I'm sitting here on this island. And
There is something nice about the Switch, though. Like, I don't know if it's the fact that the game is so darn pretty, but there's something very nice about playing it on the Switch.
it feels cozy for some reason. Even when I'm playing it like linked to the TV, it just feels cozy. I know that some people are like, friggin' peasant, you should be on the master race. And it's like, and we just had the game release on PS5 and Xbox. It's like, yeah, I'm happy for you, but I'm not really feeling the urge to grind.
More choices, the better, right?
Yeah. The more choices, the better. It's just I'm not feeling the desire to grind base rise all over again. You know, like I'm down to grind some more Sunbreak, but like going back to base rise, it's just like.
So what's your master rank level right now on the Switch?
I think I'm at like 60 or something. If I'm not at 60, I'm pretty close to 60.
I will promise you a follow-up Monster Only episode. Once you get to 120, you tell me in hindsight if I was overreacting or not, because you were telling me, "Oh, it's not that bad, guys. Come on." I want to know because I've done the math and it's pretty painful.
I mean,
as someone who is trying to catch back up, or let's say someone had put the game down a little bit, how is it ridiculously long, or is it's not so bad? I would love to know.
It is.
And I hope you tell me that I'm wrong.
I mean, no, I can tell you right now that it does feel long, but because I already know what is there when you get to 140. And, you know, as I'm working to my armor set and I'm thinking about, okay, I want to plan out this armor set for wide shelling because I really, you know, I've been really enjoying the simplicity of the wide shelling playstyle where you can just like shell, erupting cannon, shell, reload, and repeat. Like, that's just a very satisfying playstyle. So I was thinking about what set do I want to make? And I'm like, dude, I want to get the powdered mantle from Risen Teostra. And, you know, that requires me to get the master rank 140 and I'm at 60 and I'm just like, oh,
it's going to be a long road.
It takes a while. Now, I'm not feeling the grind as bad because I'm also grinding anomaly investigations at the same time. So I'm also raising the anomaly rank and I'm focused more on that to get the
okay, well, I'm going to check in with you in like 2 weeks and find out where your progress is because I'm super curious because I've done the first 80 levels shouldn't be that bad. But once you start getting into the higher ones, it's going to be pain.
Yeah, I expect it to be like that, which is why most likely I'm going to ask somebody in the community to come in and host like the Risen Valstrax.
Host the fight.
So I'm probably going to get them to host Risen Valstrax for me, host Risen Teostra, because it's going to take a while for me to get there, and I want to be able to craft my armor sets. So I'll probably just get someone to host those quests for me. But it sucks because, like, obviously I'm a streamer. I have, you could call it the streamer privilege that I can just ask, hey, guys, like even the last stream that I did for Rise, I was grinding anomalies. And it's like, okay, the next one is going to be a Daimyo Hermitar. I was like, I don't have one of those. And people in chat are like, oh, I can just host it for you. And I was like, okay. So I open up the lobby. They come in. They host it. I even get to choose the level of the anomaly that I want. That's how much privilege I get, right? I'm be like, okay.
Can I get a level 180, that? Okay, thank you.
It's like I'm at a gourmet restaurant. And I'm just like, okay, listen, I'll have the Daimyo Hermitar. I'll have it at rank 80, like medium rare. And yes, please, let's go. And then I jump in there and everybody just brutalizes the monster in mere seconds, and it's, you know, so it's like for me grinding, if I just do a live stream, it's mega easy for me to just like grind stuff, and I've already done, and I don't feel bad about it because some people are like, well, you're kind of like cheating yourself out of the experience. Like, no, I've already grinded like up to anomaly rank 160 or something completely solo, so I'm perfectly fine having an easier time now. But it does suck for people that are trying to catch up, and I do believe that is kind of a major problem with some of these title updates.
As far as like the anomaly level thing only concerned, I was seeing tweets about people saying that they made a change or they're going to make a change that's really good.
Yes.
Can you tell me what that is?
They're going to make a change where, for starters, the research requests are going to be lower level. At least that was my understanding, because some of the wording in some of those tweets is a little bit weird. But my understanding is like they're going to make the research requests a little bit lower. So what that means is, say, for instance, your because one of the problems with it is as you're raising anomalies, you tend to like, okay, I'm going to focus on this quest because that's going to give me the most possible, gains. And then what happens is your other quests start lagging behind in terms of their level. And then when the research request shows up, because it gives you bonus points and stuff like that, it's something that you want to do. But let's say, for instance, the last time you did a Nargacuga was like 50 levels ago. And so now you get a request that says like, okay, hunt the Nargacuga level 141. And then your highest Nargacuga is level 100. And you're just like, well, crap. This sucks because leveling from 100 to 141, by the time you level that Nargacuga, the research request will have changed. So it's not really worth doing. And you can go to multiplayer and do these things. But for people that are playing solo, it's a problem. So that's why they're saying we're going to lower, in general, the research request stuff. And on top of it, this other one was a little bit weirder. So I'm not sure if I got the correct thing. But they say that... what they're going to do is the requests that now show up are going to be for a certain level of monster. And if you hunt the monster that shows up there, then you get a bonus. So, for instance, you might have a request, like I was saying earlier, of a Nargacuga level 141. And what happens is you just do another quest of 141, any monster. You get a bonus, and then if on top of it that monster happens to be Nargacuga, then you get another bonus on top of that. So overall, big improvements to that. It basically means that people that people that have like 200, they're just gonna, because you get also bonus materials as well. They're making the whole thing even easier. Even though, like, I found that leveling it up now as I was coming back again on Switch from scratch. It's much easier to level up now with the companions alone. It's just so much faster to go through it.
That's good to hear.
But yeah, that's the changes that they're bringing. It's going to make it way easier to do, basically. But it's still going to be a grind. Don't get it wrong. It's still going to be a grind. Very much like the whole master rank thing is still going to be a grind. And it does exclude mostly people that are playing solo. Like, because I have a lot of comments that I hear from people, including even in this update, people commented on the VOD from the live stream that they were like, oh, I haven't played since, Title Update 2 or something like that. And trying to get back up to this, and like the master rank requirements are just astronomical. So if you're not
what happens when you make it grindy, they're treating it like an MMO or something. It makes me question. So they got the goods, it's just so hard to access the goods.
Yeah, it's like if you're not playing multiplayer, in order to catch back up, it is going to be a problem for people that are exclusively solo playing. Yeah. It's one hell of a grind. Now, it's important to also note that there's a lot of people that enjoy that grind, so it is what it is. It's just
it is what it is.
It's actually something that I was that I have a video coming up on the channel about Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins, which is a game that I've been playing, and I got to a point in that game where I was like, okay, this is way too grindy for what I'm willing to put into the game at this point. But I recognize that there are going to be people that are going to love this because, like, the amount of min-maxing that you can do, you have your regular stats, you have affinity stats, you have you have 50 different classes that you can level up to get passive effects from, and all of these different things, 2 classes. And the level of min-maxing that you can do on that is extremely appealing. But at the same time, after I leveled up a character to a certain extent, and then I would go into an event and I would get 2-shot, I'm like, yeah, that's not, nah. Yeah. But again, I understand that some people dig that, and that's cool. Like, there are people that are going to love the grind and, getting all the materials and leveling up their stuff to the nth degree, but it does exclude some of the people that are kind of like left behind, which I do think is a problem that Capcom needs to potentially consider.
You know what I wish they did is, like, I call this Excel scaling. It's like an end game mechanic that's you can basically see the spreadsheet. Okay, it goes to 260 now, it goes to 300, now 350, get 999. And, it can be fun because it gives you pretty much limitless type of content to do as things get harder. Every little minor change you do has bigger effect and all that kind of stuff. But when, like, the common solution that I prefer for that is the tower solution, I call it, which a lot of games employ, RPGs particularly, where you would have a tower that's endless, right? And you'd
Yeah.
start at like level 1, and it would be like an anomaly thing, right? Where you would have each floor would be a different monster, and then you clear it, and that's like a checkpoint, right? And then you're at that level. Maybe they have a function where you could spend points to spin so you get a different monster on the next level if you get one that you're bad at or you don't want. But you would gradually work up the ladder, and there'd be some stupid, crazy glams or something that you can get.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool. But now it's like they have a bunch, like a tower for every monster, right? Like every quest variety is its own tower that just keeps going and going and going. And it's kind of like, couldn't you consolidate it a little bit? Like all beast wyverns or something. That would be kind of cool. All leviathans. I don't know.
So you're saying like group up monsters by type, and actually it would be much nicer, say, if when you were doing
you got the rampage skills, that would help out as well.
No, I was talking about the anomaly quest, right? You'd be doing the anomaly quest, and instead of you seeing something like, oh, hunt a Rathian, you'd get hunt a flying wyvern, and then you would have levels associated with flying wyverns.
Yeah,
you are right.
Even that would be good.
That would be much better, because that way you wouldn't have as many situations of like, oh, this specific monster just got left in the dust for me because I didn't
Let's
have
say
a
you got
quest.
say you got to anomaly level 50 or 75 or 100, you can get new titles like, like Flying Wyvern, Destroyer, I don't know, something like that. I don't know, I just feel like they made it every single little thing you want to do is now an insanely huge endeavor, and for the person who only plays one game a year like I've been with another game, that's pretty cool because you don't really ever run out of stuff to do. But for the one person, it's like, okay, you're invest all this time in one thing, but then when you want to do, item number B over here, it's like, ugh. Or for people who just want to get into it late, it just feels like an insurmountable amount of work to catch up.
Yeah, so. That's one of the things that I was thinking about, because as I've been leveling on Switch, I was also thinking, dude, I also want to do like a charge blade set, and you know how charge blades are like mega powerful with the elemental damage and all of that stuff. And I was thinking to myself, man, it'd be cool to do a couple of charge blade sets, and then I reminded myself, oh, but then I have to do curious armor crafting for my set, and I need to spend all those materials on my Gunland set first, and because I've been thinking a lot over the last couple of months about how if I was to pick a bunch of weapons, which one would they be? And at this point, it'd be Gunlance, Sword and Shield, and Charge Blades. Those are weapons that I'm like, I'm pretty comfortable playing the game with these weapons. I feel like I'm pretty competent. All of the other ones I can kind of like learn and figure out and play, and it's whatever. But these three I feel like are my specialty. And I just want to like focus on making sets for those three. But in Sunbreak, with the current systems, to actually make sets that excel, that actually min-max, which is something that I enjoy doing, is like, you're talking about a master rank grind. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you think master rank grind is bad? Let me tell you about anomaly armor. Curious armor crafting. That's
the grinding lands in Iceborne seem like kiddie park at this point.
They do. They 100% do. Like, it's mega.
But let's talk about the big news. So they had a direct this morning at 8 a.m. Thanks, Japan. They do it right as, students are leaving to school, adults are leaving to work. It's like, I get it. They wanted to have a time for everybody, but time zones suck,
Yeah, time zones do suck, and I think that this was one of the first times that Americans actually got like a decent time zone for the event, because usually it's been like I think either 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. my time, which in America that is going to be friggin' wild depending on where you're at. Like, I think
I'll give them that. You guys deserve it.
Maybe if you're in the East Coast, it's probably going to be around 9 a.m. Whatever, so it's doable. But if you're in the West Coast, like you're donezo. It's like, you're gonna have to staying up late or waking up very early to get those. So in a way, I'm not like super mad about it. It was still 11, which is kind of like better than some of the stuff that we got back in Months on the World, where we'd get updates at 1 in the morning, and I would be streaming that, and that was hardcore. But we had an event. Go for it.
Big surprise monster no one saw coming.
Nobody saw Velkhana coming.
Nobody. Nope. That was out of left field there.
it was actually pretty funny because I made a video ahead of the event because I was like, okay, let's do a video kind of like talking about the potential monsters that are coming out and whatnot. And this is interesting because this is something that the community had already figured out and talked about, and I wasn't paying too much attention to it because I've been playing like different Final Fantasy games and all of these different things that just kind of like refresh and then come back into Monster Hunter a little bit more fresh, right? And so I was looking at the question mark as I was bringing these things up, and I'm like, wait a second, the question mark in here has the Kimura art style, but the question mark in the updated one has a different style. So I start looking up like, question mark in Monster Hunter Tri, question mark in Monster Hunter 4. And then as I start Googling this, I run into a Twitter post from Kogath that just straight up says, oh, this is the Iceborne question mark. And I was like, okay, it's Velkhana. It's 1,000,000% Velkhana. Like, there's not even a question in my mind. Some people were like, oh, it might be Nergigante. And I was like, no, it's Velkhana. And yeah, so we got Velkhana, which nobody saw coming. Yeah. And then we also got Risen Volstrax, which also nobody saw coming. We totally didn't call it out on the previous update. Just like nobody sees
it came out of the sky like a meteor, we never saw it coming.
We never it's the same thing as right now at the end of this update, we were all talking about, okay, so next update, Risen Shigaru Magala or potentially Risen Velkhana, but most likely Shigaru because he was in the base expansion. So we already know the Risen monster, whether or not we get Amatsu.
I'm looking at version 1.5. It's April, conveniently 2 months right before the Summer Game Fest. Monster Hunter 6, come on, announce it there.
You think they're going to announce it at the Summer Game Fest?
I think it's possible. Or if they need more time, they might. I mean, Tokyo Game Show is a joke at this point, and Gamescom is great, but I don't see them using that as a platform. No. So Summer Game Fest, I could see it. Especially now with like rumors of all the major publishers pulling out of E3 this year. Apparently, I don't know the truth behind any of that, but I think it's possible. It all depends on development schedules, I guess.
Yeah, I also said during the event that I feel like either E3 or close to E3 is probably going to be when they're going to announce it. If not, then it'll probably be around fall, which made people question, okay, so how many more updates do you think they have in the bank for Sunbreak? And my theory was that besides Title Update 5, I think we'll get one more update in the summer.
For the rest of the
maybe not as big
monsters.
And then one more update in fall, but nothing after that. I think that will be their plan.
Yeah, it's possible. It sounds right. Because if they're going to start any sort of marketing campaign for a new game, I could be wishful thinking. They could surprise us and do nothing this year. I don't know. But
no, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why in a bit. But let's continue talking about the update, and then I'll tell you why.
But Velkhana, though, the arrangement on that song is gorgeous.
Yeah, dude. Velkhana is a really cool monster. She's not one of my favorites. I think Velkhana is a fine monster, but I still have memories of basically brutalizing her with the clutch cannon build, which was disgusting because she didn't have a lot of moves that could remove you from her head. So you could just like abuse the clutch claw build, which made her like one of the best monsters to farm in the guiding lands. You just go in there, and then by the time she was dead, the ground would just be glowing everywhere with shinies. It was wild.
I just want a dual quest with Velkhana and Malzeno. They are perfect together.
What about
because they both do the stabby with their tail. It's like a lance thrust. It's so cool. I love it. And then like she'll be popping off all the AoEs. He'll be zipping around. Zoom, 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 zoom.
What about Velkhana and Frost Doggo though? Two frosty boys. Lunagaron.
Lunagaron's a mid-game monster.
Yeah, but they could juice him up. I mean, look, they have the anomaly system. They could juice up any monster they want at this point. They can just make a quest and be like, "Yep, this Lunagaron is going to be juiced up and he's going to deal way more damage." So I don't know. I just think it'd be an interesting thing because you'd have two frosty boys in there.
True, but I mean, I'm happy to see Velkhana come. It's such a fine monster from Iceborne, but it got me asking though, like, and I feel like I'm entitled here with this opinion, and I feel horrible to even say it, but it's what I felt, and I gotta be honest, is where's Nergigante? This is the 5th generation. Like, if you're gonna celebrate it properly. Like, where's the king? If we got the queen, where's the king? What, is he too much of a pushover when you have wire bugs? I don't know.
No, I don't think he would be too much of, because they can tweak around that, but I don't know. I also feel like I wanted to see more new monsters as opposed to just constantly returning monsters, which is why people were telling me, "Oh, which one are you more excited to return?" It's like, look, to return, there's only 2 monsters that I would really love to see in this game, which would be the Ranmaran or Janmaran. I think it would be really cool to have those. But other than that, I would rather see new monsters, right? I'd also love to see a Talca or something like that. But I want new monsters.
I know Amatu's coming, like, who doesn't? But I would trade Amatu for a new Elder Dragon or just a new monster for the final boss.
Yeah.
So to say, like, it's too many returning. We need something new and fun, because all the new ones have been really great.
Yeah. It's like when it comes to Amatsu in particular, just realizing how much fun it is for me to fight the flying snake wyvern thingies.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, great, another one of those. Yippee!
They have to. I think they really need to step up and redesign the fight a lot, like they did with Fatalis. Yeah. I think if they don't, it's going to be disappointing.
Yeah, I agree.
But if they do, and it could be bling, like that could be one of the best fights in the series. We'll see.
It could. We'll see how that works out. But so Velkhana's coming. That's pretty cool. Most likely.
Was that a pun?
No. It wasn't. It's just. Oh my god! I didn't even think about that. I thought you were about to. Cool. I thought you were about to criticize the delivery on that. It's like, you don't sound too excited, and I was going to justify, well, I'm tired, I'm blah, blah, blah. I am excited. But no, you just went, oh, that's a nice one, okay.
Okay, but, sorry, I'm a dad.
No, that is cool. That is cool indeed. Anyway, I think that we're probably going to be getting Frostcraft, which is her set thing, her set bonus.
Fun tool to play with, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to be split up if we take into account like the way that they've been doing sets. It's probably going to be spread out across 3 skill points, I would imagine. So you'd get 3 skill points across 3 different armor pieces, which I think it'll be interesting to have both Frostcraft and, for instance, Flame Mantle, both at the same time would be really cool, because you get a huge burst of damage for having the Frostcraft, and then every now and then you have another burst of damage in the form of Flame Mantle. It can make for some really bursty builds, but that'll be an interesting set to kind of like work around, particularly for Rage Gaming. He's gonna love that stuff with his greatsword builds for sure. And then we're also going to be getting Risen Crimson Glow Volstrax. These names are getting a little bit out of control.
I know. I wish I could face him, and I know that I can get someone to host it. I can just join it, but that just reminds me how it's such a stupid artificial wall. But was it like master rank 160?
160, yes.
I want to solo him. That's the problem. I really want to. I like soloing these types of monsters.
Like, look, the way
there's no way.
The way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna ask people to host it and then leave. I know that it's a little bit rude, but it's like, listen, I just need you to host the quest.
Then get out of here.
Please, thank you. Because like the first time that I fight him, I also want to do it solo, of course, because that's the way that I've always done it. I want to play against the monster solo because that's the more interesting. Which there is one thing that's going to suck is I'm going to be fighting him with only 1 Palico. Because once the other player leaves,
because you're going with 2 players.
I don't think you get your Palico back, if I remember correct.
Probably not.
And what about, I wonder if maybe if I disconnect, like if I pull the cable, maybe it'll be like, oh, you're offline now. Here's your other Palico.
No,
like
I doubt it.
I don't know. I need to test that, actually.
Could be worth trying. Someone try it. Let us know in chat if you're watching this on YouTube. Like, leave a comment if you tried it. Do the science for science.
Yeah, for science. But, Risen, I have no idea.
He looks cool, though.
He looks amazing. I have no idea what his armor set's gonna be though. Like, because he's gonna have another unique skill. All of the risen monsters so far have had like unique skills. With Teostra and Kushala having extremely powerful skills. Like, the last set that I crafted on PC actually had one piece of like. Look at this, right? One piece of Teostra, one piece of Kushala, one piece of Flaming Espinas. And one piece of Violet Mizutsune. So let me tell you all of the different benefits that I get from this. I get the Violet Mizutsune, which makes the monsters be enraged more often because they take more damage when they're enraged. I get the Tio, which every now and then you just get like a burst of like 800 damage or something like that. I get the Flaming Espinas, which gives you Intrepid Heart, so that every now and then I can take a hit and not get staggered. And I get 1 point of Wind Mantle on Kushala Daora, which made my Wire Bugs recharge faster, which I already have Wire Bug Whisperer level 3. So that allowed me to just like spam Wire Bugs. It's not even 3 points of Wind Mantle, it's just 1. I was able to like spam Wire Bugs, had all of these damage skills, monsters were always enraged. It was a ton of fun. It is a ton of fun because I still have that set. And I want to make that set on Switch as well, but it requires a significant time investment. And then I also I was working on the Curious Armor crafting for it to get stuff like, I also want to get Sneak Attack in there and all of these other skills. There's just so many powerful skills that you can get that, yeah. So Risen Crimson Glow Volstrax is probably also going to have like a 3-piece skill that is going to be very unique and it's going to do something crazy wild, I would imagine.
Must be nice.
It is nice, but it does require quite a bit of grinding time, which it is what it is.
It's my fault, but yeah.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, we'll probably be getting 2 more updates for this. You also agree that is probably going to be what ends up happening. Now, one of the things to me that really bothers me that they haven't capitalized yet, and I wanted to get your opinion on it, is like the boat. The big boat in the Geismagorm fight. You know what I'm talking about? The big boat with like the 3 Dragonators, whatever, fires Dragonators from afar, all of these things. Why don't we have a hunt on that boat? I want to be
even
on
against
that
Malzeno
boat.
would be fun, right?
Any monster, dude. I just want to be able to the boat is moving. Because this is something that like I've been super passionate about pretty much since, because I played Lost Planet 2 before I got really deep into Monster Hunter. And Lost Planet 2 in a way is almost like Monster Hunter but with guns. Because you also have the 4-player co-op, you have all of these scenarios. And there are several scenarios in Lost Planet 2 where you are on like a vehicle of some description that is moving at high speed and there's a big monster. Like there's one fight that if I'm remembering it correctly, which at this point it's been so long since I played Lost Planet 2, I could be just remembered incorrectly, but there's one fight where literally it's almost like you're fighting Jan Ran or the Ren Ran.
Yeah. It's a spectacle fight.
There's a sand monster.
Fights.
Yeah. And there's like really cool cooperative elements in that fight where it's like you need somebody to like carry bullets from point A to point B and then load the bullets into the cannon. Then you have another person that goes into the cannon, fires the cannon. And it's just really, really cool to have that cooperative element. It's something that I feel like you could capitalize on that back in the day with Gen Ran and 4U and stuff like that. Not Gen, it was Darren, I think, in 4U.
Yeah.
But, it's just something that we haven't had in so long. And with the boat, I could see like an aquatic monster of some kind, like maybe even a giant Lagiacrus, right? Like a giant, massive one that you need to get on the boat to fight. And you're fighting him, and he's smashing against the boat, and you're firing
your description is
the
making me, for some reason, think of God of War boss fights, because sometimes they're really
They're very spectacle fights and stuff like that. But I just think it'd be so cool to have like one of these where you're on a boat, and especially because they already have the boat model, and that boat looks so badass. I'm like, bro, I just want to be on that boat. It's the Portuguese in me, man, because we used to rule the seas. We used to like go everywhere on big ships. I keep calling it a boat. It's because in Portugal, that word. Well, actually, whatever, it doesn't matter. But basically, yeah, it's a big ship, and it's like I just want to be in a big ship fighting a big monster, and I think that'd be cool as hell. Especially because that one fires like explosive Dragonators. Like, you still remember the first time you fired that thing into Geismar, and they're like, fire the guy.
That was,
and then it goes like, I want more of that. Like, right? And, you know, a really spectacle hunt. But, you know, right now they're mostly just, okay, here's another monster and another monster, and I want a big set piece fight. Maybe they're saving something like that for that fall update that I'm theorizing about, but who knows?
Who knows? But that would be cool.
Yeah.
But like, here's one thing I want to talk about, which I want to get your take on, which is they showed off what is arguably one of the best Palamute costumes in the game.
Yeah.
Which was the mini Velkhana. And it looks amazing. It reminds me of the mini Fatalis that you could do in Iceborne with your Palico. But everything around the details of how they're using it is weird as hell for me. So one thing that really struck me was the fact that it's not a reward for doing the quest. Like, why wouldn't, like, that's what made those things really fun, I thought, was that, you know, you could use your orb to go make a weapon or a piece of armor, or you could spend it on a costume for your pet. Of course you're going to do that, you know, and that was kind of a fun thing. You break both her horns, break both the wings, do something, get a rare material and use it and be happy and flaunt it. And you know, everybody can get it, you know, and all that. But they decided to say, we're just going to give it to you. They're going to give it to everybody.
Yeah.
Free of course, but they're going to give it to everybody. But they won't say when for the normal people. But if you make a Capcom ID today, in the next 4 days, that's all you got. So if you're out of town, sorry, buddy. 4 days, you got to make their Capcom corporate ID. You do that, and they'll send it to you in just a few days, like in the first 2 days of the release. So you'll get it early, whether that's a week early, 2 weeks early, a few days early. I don't know. They haven't said. What a weird way to treat what is, I thought, one of the highlights of the stream.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy they're not selling it because, God, I wouldn't put it past them at this point. But, like, not a reward, and they're putting in their corporate. I mean, you know, the developers didn't want to do that. Like, that's someone in corporate saying, no, we need more people signing up for the Capcom ID because we want to blast some newsletters out there. We want to get some data on our players. So give it early to people who make an account. And it was last minute, so yeah, give them 4 days. What the hell?
It's a weird thing, and I think that one of the reasons why they're doing that is I remember asking for access to Exoprimal, which I then I completely forgot to follow up on. But I was told that it's like, okay, in order to get access to Exoprimal, you're going to need to have a Capcom ID. So I'm wondering if it's somehow linked to Exoprimal. They want to be able to like promote it, and they want to have people already ready to play Exoprimal with their Capcom IDs, because I think that Exoprimal is also going to be launching on consoles. It's going to be PC on consoles, and you do have the option of linking that account to an Xbox Live account, Steam account, and a PlayStation account. You can't connect it to the Switch yet, but you know, people were thinking that, oh, you can't get the layered armor on the Switch then, right, for the Palamute. No, but you can get it.
Yeah.
It's a separate page that you got to go to apply to the campaign, whatever, and you basically have to choose, which is another thing that kind of sucks, because like if it was an event quest, you just do the event quest, get the thing on both platforms. But because it's this campaign, you have to choose. You either get it on Switch or you get it on Steam. But you know, it's gonna go. But then again, it might just be the early access, because you were saying that it was early access. I wasn't even aware that.
It said on the site that everybody will get it, and they use the word gojutsu, which means like shortly after, like maybe like a week, a few days. Who knows? But then again, I've seen them use that term, and it's like 2 weeks. But it's not like it's going to be like USJ. It's gonna be like 2 months later or something like that. They're gonna give it away to everybody, which again I think is weird. But if you want to get it early and you want to flaunt it off, you got to make your Capcom ID. It just feels so corporate. I don't know.
Yeah, it's basically them getting you to like, okay, give us your email so that we can fire off a couple of PR blasts your way. It is important.
They had a tough time here in Japan, just so you know. Like we've had the Capcom ID for a long time now, but it took them years to get people to finally transition off their old ID system to the Capcom ID system. Like they had to constantly threaten people. Okay, now I'm trying to remember what the name was before that. I can't remember. It's totally lost on me now. But it was basically the same thing, just different ID system. But now they want to consolidate it. I think it was the Capcom. I want to say COG ID. I don't know what that stood for though. Capcom
Online Games. Yeah. I remember something about that. I think I had one of those actually. But that's been a long time.
Make an account is simple. So like maybe if people are saying I'm crying over nothing, like go for it. I'm just saying that it's really cool, and there could have been a more meaningful way to put it in the game that was like an objective than just saying, we're just gonna give it to you, and please sign up for our account.
Yeah, just sign up for the thing and you'll get it.
It just makes me shrug my head like, oh, come on, roll my eyes,
It's one of those things that definitely, and now I guess we have to, like, look, if anybody thinks at this point that me and Gaijin don't like this game,
I love the game.
Both of us love the game. We've said it multiple times, but we're also going to criticize things that we think they're not doing right, because without us providing feedback, things can't improve. Because a lot of times I get the whole thing of people telling me, oh, you're just constantly being negative. And it's like, no, you need to understand, before I even express these opinions online, I make sure that, the community managers at Capcom is
It's never going to work. You know that, right?
Of exactly how I feel.
It's not going to work.
It's like I'm always...
I got a comment on Twitter the other day. Someone was like, what the hell? You said Icebreak is the best Monster Hunter game of all time at this current moment?
Iceborne?
I'm like, yeah. Iceborne.
See, I actually disagree with that.
And the thing is like, they're like, well, you made all these videos hating on it and how it was bad compared to old games. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I made like over 150 world videos. I had beef with the reskins, which I will hold till my grave. Yes, that was a bad thing. I did have one video where I was trying to come to terms with the fact that Monster Hunter has changed and it's different. And this, that happens, right? And just, what I missed from the older classic types and what we get in this one. But for the most part, I love that game. Yeah. Like, I didn't like the end game at first. I thought it was too grindy. They fixed it, in my opinion. And I loved it, and I made guides and stuff on it. I don't like the end system for Sunbreak at all, but that's a personal preference. It's just my gameplay. Maybe they'll change it in the future, and I'll be like, oh, no, this is sweet. I don't know. We'll see. But no, I love this game. It's just, I'm playing another game right now, and I'm just not into the end game, and that's fine. I wasn't into Guild Quest for Monster Hunter 4 either. Like, I didn't do the whole 100 Shagaru. Like, I let someone else do it, and I did a few hunts, but I threw away every weapon I got because I didn't feel right, personally, with having, like, a awesome fire weapon or from an ice monster that I killed, and it was just a random drop. It just felt weird to me. So, yeah, everyone has different flavors, of things they like and things they don't.
The thing about, I feel, the internet is that it really promotes extremes in terms of like opinions.
Yeah.
So
on every end, yeah.
So people tend to either like, listen, you either love this thing or you hate it. It's the whole
you hate it.
Waffles versus pancakes thing, where like, oh man, I really like pancakes, so you're saying you hate waffles. That's what you're saying.
What the hell's wrong with eggs? Like, why are you leaving that out?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a vegetarian? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It
seems that there's a lot of things like that, and people.
It's
very hard to explain nuance. Where it's like, no, I love this thing, and then there are these aspects of it that I don't like. But it is important for us to talk about it, and I just wanted to preface this with the discussion that we're going to be having next, which is about the DLC. Which
I do gotta say, the DLC that they showed today was hilarious. It's those scribble drawings of the hunter.
Yeah, those are friggin'
That's
awesome.
Funny
dude.
as
like,
hell.
When I first saw them, I was like, bro, this is so cool. It's like, I really wish that those in specific would have been like quest rewards. You know?
Well, that should be like if you do the twins, you do their collaboration quest all the way to the final. Like that would be a really nice.
Like add a couple of
you
more
get like
steps.
Minato's final challenge. You and the two sisters go out. Like that'd be pretty dope.
I think that'd be cool. You could add like a couple of extra steps to their quests, and then it's like, okay, you do these all the way, and make it hard because like it is a very unique looking armor. Just make it hard.
Looks great.
But you could go that route, and then you would get them. Although these ones don't bother me as much as like the Lost Code weapons, because I'm like, agree. you have maybe not super comparable things, but you have plenty of comparable things in terms of quality.
Yeah,
that
you
you
have
can
fun goofy outfits.
You have fun goofy outfits. Yeah, so I'm like, yeah, this is fine. Although I just think it would have been so much more rewarding if we would have gotten those, because I mean, those things are like so simple, right? In terms of like textures and all of these things, it's just got like the fuzzy palico texture and whatnot, and I was like, these look so cute and cool and awesome that it's going to suck that some people are not going to be able to play around with them because they can't afford it, right?
Well, they've got a really bad, I think they have a bad idea of they could do so much more with marketing with this game. Like, can you imagine, like, if they added in, okay, follow requests are a huge deal, and many players probably have not engaged with it. Say, okay, Minato quest, do her thing, get this crazy outfit, then we're going to do a Twitter campaign. Everyone take the most funniest pictures you have while in this suit, and do like a photo contest. And so, like, you can get community engagement. You can get all sorts of earned media exposure if you wanted to go that route.
Yeah, it would have been.
Feels like a wasted opportunity.
It would have been some, because like that there would be like, right now you're gonna have like, say, a couple of hundred people that are probably gonna be, oh, I'm gonna buy this and then I'm gonna post it online. If you gave access to your whole player base to these crazy looking costumes that have already been involved in your marketing and under like your guides and the previews and all of these things, you would have thousands of people posting images of themselves doing stupid things whilst wearing these costumes. It'd be amazing. Like, what do you mean? I don't understand.
You gotta give kindle to the fire of the community in order to keep the flame really burning bright. And I think it just feels like a missed opportunity because the asset is cool.
Yeah, it's like really cool. I might actually buy these.
They're interesting. I do like them.
And I kind of do wish that like they would think some of these things through, because like I was thinking about where would have been a scenario where like I would have been much more accepting of the weapons, for instance, because I've spoken against the weapons on multiple times and I've told Capcom exactly how I feel about it and everything's cool. It doesn't make me hate the game like a lot of people think, but it's like, imagine for instance, right? You have these two sets of weapons that they've made, where you have the Lost Coat and you have the fluffy weapons. Let's say, for instance, they gave you the Lost Code weapons as an event quest, and then they sold you the fluffy weapons, or the other way around. They gave you the fluffy weapons and they sold you the Lost Code weapons. I would have 100% bought the other one. Because like, okay, no, you're giving me this one for free. I'll buy this one. That's the point that I'm making. When you have something that has something unique that you can't really fully get in the game, something of comparable aesthetic value, I feel like you should have one that you give to the players and then you have another one that you sell. Because
and if it's engagement they're after, all they had to do was say hit Anomaly 100 on Mizutsune and you get a special layered weapon.
Yeah.
People would be playing the hell out of this game to get those because the designs are so good.
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of comments of people, and usually the sentiment goes like, "Oh, I'm just waiting for World 2. I want World 2." Like they see the title update and all their conversations about when's the next one? When's the next one? I'm good. When's the next one? And it kind of sucks. I feel like if people had like a little bit more motivation to do some of the things,
Yeah.
Because
Well, it doesn't feel like they're necessarily expanding on the game, right? They're adding more to the back end of what's already there,
Yeah.
which makes sense. But I mean, it doesn't feel like anything new outside of monsters are coming.
It's still a lot of content, right? I think it's
a hell
also
of a lot,
important
yeah.
to acknowledge the amount of content that we get, because like
Oh, it's great.
you have people. I had people instantly say, the moment the thing was over, I'm done. Whatever. That was not a great event. And I was like, what do you mean? We're getting 2 new monsters. We're getting more quality of life features. We're getting all of these things, and your instant gut reaction is like, whatever. It's like, if you think like that about every title update, it's like, oh, it's just whatever. First title
then
update,
you're done
you just
with
got
the game.
Yeah. You just got 4 monsters, a new area. You have the anomaly investigation system. The other one, 3 new monsters, and now you also have layered weapons and expansion on the anomaly system. The next one, 3 new monsters, and now there's additional follower features. This one is just like they keep adding more and more and more, and it's great. It's fantastic. I think that these title updates are great because they're
is got to be the best update they've done. That was amazing.
If you think about it, this is a game that, like, when Sunbreak came out, I think that probably whatever the definitive edition, whatever they called it, it was like what, $60 for $60 and nothing else. And nothing else, $60, you're talking like, I have over 1,500 hours because I've played the game twice, but like on each individual save file, I have over 700 hours of gameplay that I'm going to be able to continue playing and having fun with. There's tons of value there. So,
And if you want to spend more money, you could buy DLC pack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for the wildly discounted price of $200.
It's $200?
It's $25 for a DLC pack, which is like it's cheaper, right? If you buy it in a pack and you get all the goodies, and they have pack number 9. So do the math. That's 200 buckaroos in DLC.
Yeah. See, that's where I think they're going a little bit too far, as we were talking about.
Yeah. Someone was asking me, like, what do you mean going hard? I'm like, why don't you go on, like we were talking right before this podcast, like you go on and you look for the Forest DLC. It's just a piece of armor that looks nice. It's like a Crocodile Dundee type of thing, like just going outside like an adventurer. Nothing horribly special, but cool. You want the little handcuffs? Yeah, that's $1.50. You want the boots? Yeah, it's $1.50. The hat? Yeah, it's $1.50. It's like it's $7.50 overall, but like to see little handcuffs on the store for $1.50, just so you can see, because people with OCD like me, we want the full set, right? We don't want to have that odd piece out. And you're like, yes, I could buy only the part I want, and that's a cool option, but it's not a good look, like when you're going to the page and it's like, here's a small little under the eye tattoo. Here is a earring. Here is a bracelet, and they're all DLC separate. It just looks really weird.
Yeah, this was the first time that I actually looked at it, because previously I bought the music packs. I bought like 2 music packs on PC.
Yeah, I bought those.
I'm going to buy those on Switch as well, because I really love the music packs. The music of the game is friggin' great. And because you can also get music from previous Monster Hunter games and you just play it on Elgato or in Kimura or whatever. I think that is a really cool feature. And that is something that I really appreciate, because again, it's like you have this feature in the game. You have the full soundtrack in the game. You can choose to play whatever track you want from this game for free. See, that's where
it just expands on it if you want to spend some money.
That's where I'm talking about when I say comparable value. There's something of comparable value in the game that is completely free that I can play around with, do whatever I want. I'm like, I am perfectly comfortable like spending upwards of 10, 20 euros just to have more music in the game, because I already have so much, right? And that's the thing. So that one for me is like a no-brainer. So that's the DLC that I've bought on PC. But I didn't look at this individual armor thing, and we were looking at it because they had this slide that showed, there's a discount on DLC right now on the Lost Code weapons. And I was looking up this discount, and apparently it's not active in Europe yet, or if it even is going to be active. At least in the Portuguese store, I couldn't find it. Like, I was there, and it's like, these weapons are the same price. But that's when I started looking at, and you were talking about, there's these individual cuffs, they cost $150, and I was looking through the list of DLC, and anybody that has a Switch, you guys know how slow the eShop is. It is mega slow. Like the time it just took to load all of the different DLC things.
Oh my lord, yeah.
I was scrolling down and I was like, oh my God, this is next level. This is too much. Like, I think the sweet spot that they had was Monster Hunter World, not Iceborne. I mean, Iceborne I was also okay with, but in Iceborne it's also just like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of it. I feel like World felt really good because when the thing went on discount, I was like, okay, here's 50 euros. Give me all of it. Boom, done. It was something like that. And I just have all of the base World DLC. I don't think I even used it. I don't think I even used any of it. I was like, I just want to give you guys some money. There, boom. Give me all of this. But like when you have all of these things and these tactics, like, I'm going to split this up into itty bitty pieces and it feels wrong. And I feel like it goes a little bit against the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not even against them selling the cosmetic armors at all. Like, yeah, sure. Go wild. It just feels weird selling it like little piecemeal, each individual, which I think, again, I can understand the argument for it, which, you know, you'll have someone that's like, hey, I can't afford to like pay $750 for a full armor thing, but I'd really like to get that chest piece. And they can just go and like $150 get the chest piece. But it still feels weird. There's definitely something different to it, especially when you're looking at the store and you see like rows upon rows upon rows upon rows of DLC. It's like, it's pretty friggin' wild. But
I'm trying to count really quickly a few of these, but
oh no, that's what you were doing, because like I'm looking at your camera and you're just like staring at the screen, very paying attention to this, focusing hard. He's still going.
I'm just looking at the DLC items. There's over 200.
Over 200 pieces of individual DLC?
Items. Yeah.
It's a lot.
I don't know.
I
get it. Like people say you need to have extra money to make more content, agree. But I also think that like maybe they go too long with some of the development on some of the content. I don't know. Like they sell so many that I can't see how the sales don't support the development, but it's just it's optics really at this point.
Yeah, because
I'm not against DLC. It's just the optics feel weird. I don't know how best to describe it.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, I find it interesting when people are like, well, you know, they got to make money. I'm like, dude, you understand, I'm one of the biggest proponents for this game making as much money as possible. I want them to have like boatloads of money so that they can keep making and working on it. And it's also one of the reasons why I make so many videos trying to get more people into the game so that they make even more money. But the thing is, I want them to make more money by selling the game to people as opposed to selling these little pieces of content. I think it is, and I think it is also for the developers themselves. Like if you think about it from the developer's standpoint, I think that imagine somebody who worked on one of the pieces of cosmetic armor, knowing that, you know, there's only going to be a very limited number of players that are ever going to wear that armor. Like that developer, when they were working on that piece of armor, they were like, oh man, I want to see everybody wearing this. And then, you know, the armor gets added into the game and there's like 2 or 3 pictures on Twitter or Instagram or whatever of people wearing the armor. They're like, oh, I guess people didn't like my armor that much. And it's like, well, no, they probably don't even get to make the decision. They just design the armor and then somebody higher up just goes, okay, this one goes into the game, this one goes into DLC, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, there's a lot of angles there, but fundamentally to me, I just want more people to buy the game as opposed to buying the DLC. And I think that even having more DLC included for free generates so much positive publicity that you will, by that effect alone, have more people buying the game. In a way, I feel like, imagine this, if the lost code weapons were in the game itself, you could be getting, instead of a couple, like 100 sales of lost code weapons, you could be getting a couple of like 100 sales of the actual game, which is much more profit in their pocket. Maybe I'm wrong because I don't have like any market data or anything like that. So fundamentally, I don't know, but that is what I would prefer to happen myself. I would like them to sell more games, basically.
Yeah.
Which is also the reason why I'm so happy about the game coming out on consoles, on PlayStation, Xbox, all of that stuff. You haven't tried any of those versions, right?
I haven't. You said that. I was a little disappointed to hear you. I was really curious about the HD rumble on the DualSense because that is implemented so well in a game like FF14. Like, oh my god! I was thinking, like, of all the possibilities, like that is a DLC you could sell me. Honestly, like if you say I'm going to give you HD rumble features that all the roars are different, the texture when you're walking on snow versus walking on water, the sound, like it's such a killer feature. It's so good, and I hate Sony. The fact that I'm praising them to high hell just tells you how impressed I am with it. But it sounds like they just have rumble. It's just rumble.
It's just regular ass rumble. There's nothing. There's nothing special about it. Like which is weird to me because like I was playing Stranger of Paradise at the same time as I was playing Rise, right? And Stranger of Paradise has HD rumble in certain places. But
one thing I gotta say that they did right though, I was watching. Did you watch the Digital Foundry review of it?
No, I haven't. But like the game runs fantastic.
Holy crap! Like the amount of like PC like options that they give people on a console, like being able to include that is amazing. That needs to be praised because I really wish other games did that because you really can fine tune the experience to what you want. It's really impressive.
I actually I'm not a huge fan of that feature, but I did mention that feature was there because like.
I love it. I think that's great.
It's like, look, for the people that like messing around with that stuff, I think that's great. But that is one of the things why I prefer playing on consoles in a lot of video games. Is guys, I don't want to be messing around with this. Okay, like,
but that's a good thing. Like Digital Foundry will go through the presets and say, like, okay, did they nail the presets where you don't have to think about it? And they did, and it looks really good.
I think they did. I think it's simple enough that most people can get it. It's just like. I wish that we were kind of like past this whole thing in consoles that we have of like, do you want performance or do you want 4K? Do you want performance or do you want RTX? And it's like, no, bro, look, just target 60 FPS and give me the best visual detail that you can give me at 60 FPS and boom, done. And if you can, because like the weird thing for me is that I know that there are actually people out there that prefer 4K 30, and I'm like, I can't relate. I will I'll take 1080p 60 any day of the week over 4K 30. Like, it's just the way that and I know this is weird as someone who just said at the start of this podcast, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna be playing on the Switch now. It's like, bro, you're playing at 30 FPS. What is wrong with you? It's like, it's different. There are other advantages that I get from the Switch that I value more than.
Well, the Switch is also small enough that, especially on the go, that the fidelity looks so phenomenal no matter what.
And there's another thing that I understand that this is a very minor thing, and for some strange reason it bothers me way more than it should because I've caught myself basically mentioning it on on both of the reviews.
Ooh.
That I've made for both the PC version and the console version of Rise. I caught myself criticizing this thing. And it is, for some reason, it triggers the crap out of me. It's the fact that the food cutscenes at 30 FPS. I can't.
Good God.
It murders me, dude. Like
it's horrible.
It's so jarring that to
why
the point
can't they fix that? I don't understand.
I don't get it.
It's an in-game engine rendered scene. I mean, there's no reason why.
I believe that there's probably mods that do it, which is the worst part. I think I've seen a mod that fixes that, and I'm like, bro, come on, because
why don't they? It's jarring, yeah.
Like let me just. I'm
Wait,
not
so it's like
kidding.
that on the consoles as well?
Yes. It's the same thing. It's just like on PC. The moment the cutscene starts, you can instantly tell. And I'm not kidding, because like you do this so often, even though you skip you skip it, right? Because like, oh, I've seen the animation, whatever. I'll just skip it. It's for most people, this is not going to be a big deal, but for some reason, in my brain, it kills me, and it's so much more pleasant when you're on the Switch because it doesn't swap. It's like it's 30 here and it's 30 here. And it's just seamless.
It's like what we call like removing the green screen, right? It like ruins it's not immersion, but it ruins the experience a little bit in the fact that it's so jarring that your consciousness shifts to it, and you're like, I don't want to focus on this.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what it is because like it's probably something just really weird about me, but like the whole shifting from 60, because I'm not even somebody that cares that much about frame rate. I don't, so long as it's somewhat. I think it's like so long as it's somewhat stable It doesn't bother me if it's 30.
Yeah, because
even if it's 24
from software games,
software
games bug the shit out of me because they have bad frame pacing, and I see it, and it bugs me every time I see the hitch. They will never fix it.
You should be even more anal about it than me then, because like I barely ever notice it on From Software games. But yeah, sometimes I'll even just like casually watch the cutscene on Switch because I'm like, it's nice. It doesn't like break the flow of frames.
Yeah,
it's just
like, but that's also the problem. Like if you watch the cutscene, your eyes going from 60 or even 120 at this point to 30, it looks like a slow motion it's like weird. Laggy video, and it just looks horrible. And you would think that as the developer that they would want to fix that because it just doesn't look good.
Because you can fix it. The consoles can do it at 60 FPS. And I even had someone in the comment section at one point saying, well, maybe it's a cinematic choice because, movies aren't made at 60 FPS. And I'm like, no.
It's not. It's in-game
I refuse to accept that.
It shows your outfit. No, it shows your...
I completely
your
refuse
outfit. It's rendered.
To accept that this is a conscious choice that they're like, yeah, we need this to be 30 FPS because otherwise it wouldn't look good. It's like, no, I don't believe you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I think this is one of the excuses at one point that they tried making for The Evil Within or something like that. They're like, oh yeah, it's a more cinematic experience at 30 FPS, and I was like, yeah, right. You can't get that.
Like, it was
that
forgivable in
60.
RPGs. Like, you're playing a last-gen game, like Lost Odyssey, I think had the same thing, or Blue Dragon, where the cutscenes were pre-rendered. So, like, they weren't going to... It would be nice if they had redone all of them, but I think the size would probably not fit on the disc. But they just said, look, we had to cut corners. We chose where to focus our energy, so cutscenes are 30, the rest is 60 or whatever. That at least that it's pre-rendered. There's a reason, but like for in-game rendered stuff, it's kind of like,
I don't
why didn't you fix that?
Besides that, like I wish they had done HD Rumble. Like I told you myself before the game released, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see what a Wyvern Fire feels like. And then I was like, it rumbles a bit. And then they have haptics on there, which you can turn on or off, which I've turned off because the only thing that it was doing is it made blocking harder. I was like, I don't understand the added immersion value of making it harder for me to press the block button. I've heard that from people in the Call of Duty community when they initially tried using haptics on the DualSense controller. People were actually losing matches because it was harder for them to pull the trigger. So everybody turned it off because they're like, no, dude, I'm actually losing matches because it takes me like a split millisecond more to pull the trigger because as I'm squeezing it's fighting me. There's like in some games it's done really well, and in other games it's like it's weird. I feel like in Forspoken, which is another game that came out recently, it also makes no sense whatsoever because the way that you cast spells is by pressing the trigger button. And then they put resistance on the trigger button, so you're supposed to be spamming it, and the button is fighting you all the time. And I'm like, what is this? A workout for my middle finger? Like, what are we doing? Like, what's the thought process there? Am I working out my middle finger? Like I'm lifting weights over here? It's a weird thing, but I think that not everybody gets how the whole thing can kind of work. It's like a situation where I feel like it would be interesting for the trigger to fight you a little bit is, and I don't know if you can do this because I haven't seen games use it like this, but say for instance when I'm doing Wyvern Fire, it's a specific button combination. If by the time I press it then the trigger would fight me a little bit, like that would be interesting because it's like, hey, you're doing Wyvern Fire, I'm going to fight you a little bit. Like that would be cool because it's not like you're doing Wyvern Fire all the time. Whereas blocking, there's a lot of times that you're required just like pull up the block. So it's
I think some more interesting implementations of that outside, I think HD Rumble enough, if it's tuned, is enough to add a lot of immersion. It would be stuff like, like when you hold the buttons to hold on to a monster that you're mounted on or something, like in past games, like you mount something. Like having it where like it's not harder to press down, but it just stops midway. So you feel like you're holding on to something that's fighting you back, but it's still easy to hit it. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, like Add stuff like that to wyvern riding. Yeah, that'd be legit. Add some kind of resistance there. That'd be cool. But no.
Xbox really needs to copy Sony. I keep saying that, but they really need to say, you know what? I don't care if it's proprietary. We'll pay you. This shit's good.
And the funny thing about this whole thing is, it's like I feel like Nintendo were the original innovators in a lot of these fields, because I specifically remember when I first bought my Wii, the first Wii. And I was like, oh, wow, there's this thing here. There's like a speaker in this controller.
Yeah.
And when I slash my sword with Link, the speaker makes noise. And that's like actually really cool. And then PlayStation's like, oh, we're stealing that for DualShock 4. And boom, DualShock 4 has like built-in speaker. And then Nintendo comes out with a Switch where he's like holding the whole glass with the ice and whatnot on the controller. And it's like, oh, it's got HD rumble. And literally everybody on the internet was memeing on it. They're like, oh, that's so dumb, HD rumble. And lo and behold, out comes the DualSense, and I'm like, oh my God, HD rumble is one of the best things since friggin' sliced bread. It's like, wow, dude. Because like when HD Rumble came out, I was like, this actually sounds interesting. Like, I'm curious about this technology, because I reminded myself, like, oh, they used to have speakers on the Wiimote, and that was kind of like revolutionary. And, it's just weird that people meme on it and all of a sudden like, oh no, this is actually fantastic. But yeah.
Yeah, it all comes down to implementation, right? I remember the first time I experienced haptics was as a kid. I don't know if it was middle school or high school, but it was the Rumble pack for Star Fox 64.
Oh yeah,
that blew my damn mind. Oh my God, I remember that vividly. So I laughed at the idea, and I looked at it and went, "That looks bulky." Tried it out. Oh my God, that was so cool.
Like, what do you mean the controller vibrates? That's so stupid. Why would you do that?
Oh
were Nintendo the first ones to come up with that? I don't actually know, because I wasn't into
I don't know if
consoles
Star
back then.
Fox 64 was the first one. I don't know, but that was certainly the first time I experienced it. Let me see if I can find out.
Yeah, it's funny to see like all of this technology.
ARMS had a good thing as well. Like if you're playing ARMS, if you got like the little like stringy like wire, it goes like you could feel the in the controller.
Dude,
really
I loved ARMS. I think ARMS was actually
ARMS
very
is
underrated.
The most underrated Switch game. I loved and adored.
I wouldn't say most underrated, but it's definitely one of those that is very underrated. Because I remember, I think in that year it even made it like on my top 10 list. I think it was like number 10 or something, but I really liked ARMS. And it was so weird for me, because most people, they were very critical of it. They were like, oh, ARMS, it's so stupid, it's a stupid game. I'm like, what do you mean? This game's hilarious, this game's great. Like, I had so much fun playing ARMS. I don't understand why people like didn't get into it. I loved ARMS. I thought ARMS was amazing.
Music, art, the way they rolled out the characters, the gameplay, everything was just...
it was fantastic. It was a great game. I friggin' adored it. But
okay, well, I don't know the conclusive answer, but a lot of people are saying, at least on home consoles, that Star 64 and the Rumble Pack was the first.
So that's just another first for Nintendo. They came... I mean, assuming that information is right, they came up with Rumble... Yeah. They came up with Rumble on controllers.
Well, they certainly were the first ones that had the best implementation of it, for sure.
So they came up with Rumble on controllers, speakers on controllers, HD Rumble now, and they're always like on the cutting edge. It's also funny because like people nowadays, it's almost like people love the Steam Deck, which I think is great. I think it's fantastic. But I find it interesting that a lot of times when people are trying to sell me on the Steam Deck, they feel the need to say that the Switch is a bad system. They're like, oh, your Switch is terrible. The Steam Deck is so much better. And I'm like, you understand that if the Switch didn't exist, probably Steam Deck wouldn't have existed either. Like, you do understand this. Like, it's so frustrating sometimes,
It all comes down to the games as well.
Nobody was doing that kind of... And it almost seems like I'm super fanboying for Nintendo right now. I'm not. Like, listen, I buy the platforms that have the games that I want to play. That's it. I even own an Xbox because I wanted to play Scalebound, okay? That's how much I like, listen, I buy the platforms that have the games I want to play. That's just the way that it goes. But it's like, it bothers me sometimes that people don't acknowledge the thing. Because like when Switch came out, everybody's like, oh, Switch is so great. And then something better comes out. It's like, oh, Switch is so bad. I hate it. It's terrible. And they feel the need to just like tear into it for some strange reason. Because like nobody was making handhelds like that since ever. And then suddenly Switch comes out
Yeah.
and there's like all of these knockoff ones that they did in China. And then there's the Steam Deck, and there's there's some that are getting more mainstream and stuff like that. There's the Razer one and all of these things. And people now just want to poo-poo on the Switch. And I'm like, bro, like chill.
Well, it's like you said, it's all extremes at this point,
it's all
you know?
extremes. It's all extremes.
It's what do they call it? Is it tribalism? Where like
Yes,
you're like,
tribalism.
yeah, I'm in this group. Yeah, it's just a stupid.
Which is kind of like something that
humans are dumb monkeys. That's what we do.
Yeah, it's something that
We're
you
like,
probably.
no, this is fast.
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
I interrupted you, but it's one of those things that you've probably been a little bit more exposed to now because you're in Final Fantasy XIV. You've probably been exposed to the whole we hate the World of Warcraft community and vice versa. We don't like the Final Fantasy XIV people. It's also very tribalistic there too.
Maybe I'm just interacting with different people, but
Yeah.
I've been having fun, fluffy times in FF14. So I'm still hooked as ever. I mean, you got me on 13 months now, like dripping in my IV every day, which is why I'm actually we're gonna have to cut the podcast a little short this time, because it's raid night for me. Gonna be raiding.
We still have like a couple of more minutes. Don't start running away already, Gaijin.
Yeah. Let's do it.
But also there was another tweet that came out recently, which it was Ratatosker saying, "Oh, I started playing Destiny 2 again, but I figured I'm probably not going to stick with it because if I'm going to play an MMO, it should probably be Final Fantasy 14." And I instantly had to say, "Hey, I take no responsibility for this. I did nothing."
Did you see Hey Jay had a video where he's like, I wonder, these are the games I would love to play. And then he put it on the list, and he even mentioned it. He had a funny joke with me about it. Like, and I just said, sending love from Eorzea in the comments. I want to say do it, but, it depends. Get the other games out of your system. I think Final Fantasy 14, if it hits you like it hits me, it's like, what they say, before you have a baby, like, do what you want to do in life because the focus becomes the baby afterwards. It's kind of like that. It's right now.
I think that you're in a very specific situation, like we were talking a little bit last night. I think that it's also because you have someone that you're constantly playing with and you guys have like your schedule synced. That makes it much more interesting because when you're playing it alone, it's very different. Like you'll get into it, you'll enjoy the story, do all these things, wait a little bit, get into the end game a little bit, and then eventually, it kind of like peters out, and then you come back when the next expansion comes out or something like that, and it can be played as a much more casual MMO if you choose to do so.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not. The fact that I'm playing it so much every day is not a product of the game design as much as it is. I'm just having fun goofing around with people.
Exactly, and you're currently doing Savage rating. You're actually catching up to me in Savage Prog, but we did a lot of the stuff blind, which was
Respect.
It was harsh when we got to the final one. Let's just put it like that. We still haven't beaten P8S, but yeah, you're also working on that. You enjoying the raid?
Yep, I am very much. Yeah, it's very fun. It's so much harder. It's hard to find a group of people to do it with, but if you can, it's really nice. It's fun. I love the idea of. I tweeted about this. The idea of Prog, where you didn't have to win the fight. You went in there for an hour. You practiced it. You died many times, but every time you get over one little, and this only works because it's a scripted game, right? Like you have scripted phases. But I was thinking like maybe that's why I liked Alatreon and Fatalis, is because they had phases that were well defined, and you're like, I got it past the first Eschaton Judgment. Oh my God, I got Fatalis to phase 2, and it was like we just played for 3 hours. We didn't beat anything. And we're hyped as hell, and we had a good time because you got progress. And the next time it's called cleanup. Now you're cleaning up phase 1 and you're working on phase 2. The next time you're cleaning up phase 2 maybe, and then seeing a peak of phase 3, and it's just you could feel the progress, and it's so nice. So I kind of wish that Monster Hunter would introduce more phases into monsters where it's more clear. Like, okay, you are progressing but then again, the fights aren't designed to be like super hard. Yeah. So like, you're not going to fail them for like a few days or a few weeks or a few months. So it's a different genre of game, I guess, but I like it.
I know for a fact that a lot of people actually resented when Monster Hunter introduced more MMO-like mechanics. So that is something to take into consideration. Like the core base of Monster Hunter is not as interested in that. As a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, you were not the biggest fan of Extremoth, right?
No, because I didn't understand what the hell was going on.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like,
And
if you were to do,
I said, I didn't say it was a bad fight. I just said this is kind of crazy. I'm getting nailed by wind things being juggled in the air until I die. That's not fun. 30 seconds of being juggled.
yeah.
But that's because it was designed to reflect gameplay from a totally different type of game.
See,
And
if
so
you
I
were,
respect that.
I keep it like our lag is really bad today. I apologize, guys, because I know that people get really mad when I interrupt you.
Oh, when I
As if-
talk, my icon doesn't pop up that I'm speaking for like 2 full seconds. It's really bad.
Yeah, because Gaijin can see like his avatar and the camera setup that we have going now, so he can see the delay. So it's like, guys, it really is the delay. I'm not, because a lot of times people assume that I'm trying to talk over you, and it's like
No, I talk over you all the time.
You really don't understand the level of latency that exists between me and Gaijin. It is massive, and we're constantly trying to speak to keep the flow of the podcast, because otherwise it'd be like I talk. And then there'd be like a
Silence.
5-second pause where I'm waiting to see, is he going to talk? So it's like we try to keep the conversation going, and it just happens that sometimes we interrupt each other. I swear to God, I'm not doing it on purpose, because people think that I'm just... I've been accused multiple times of being disrespectful of you.
I was really surprised because I was like, I thought I'd be the one that would be targeted with that, because there's so many times I talk over you unintentionally that I thought that people would be like, God, like he's like Neil deGrasse Tyson, like he won't let people talk, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and I love Neil, but I mean, you got to give him shit for that. But, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's true. Lag is a biatch.
Yeah, we do have a lot of latency, but like as I was saying, like I think that if you were to experience Extremoth now, with the experience that you have from Final Fantasy XIV, you would have a completely different appreciation of the fight. Which is why when Extremoth came out, I personally instantly loved it. I was like, this is freaking awesome. And I started instantly defining like strategies. If people actually go back to that stream where I was trying to figure out Extremoth, they will instantly start recognizing it if they put like a little bit of MMO rating experience behind it. They'll instantly start recognizing what I'm trying to do when I'm organizing that fight, because I'm telling people, you get Charybdis, you run to the edge of the map. You get those goddamn tornadoes the hell away from us. I had to tell Kegrin to play a bow, and not a bow, but to play something else other than aerial glaive, because when you're aerial glaving, you can't see when the debuff is coming. So there were a ton of different things that I did, and I was like, I will be a healer. Like, I actually took on the role of a healer when we were doing that. Like,
now I'm thinking like, I want to go back actually now with you maybe one day. We got to plan this.
I'm
get a
game
group
for
of
that.
get a group of 2 other people who are familiar with MMOs, and then play like an MMO and do a video on it. That would be interesting, because I'm thinking like the area that I was most upset about, and I said this is bullshit, was when he would before he dropped the meteor, he would break before he dropped his thing, he would break all the rocks, and then you're just screwed, right? And then, but now I'm thinking, well, if someone has aggro, they can just pull him away from the rocks.
Yeah.
You could just not be there, or you can have him facing a different direction. Yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, there's no really way to play a healer, I guess, unless someone comes in from shield with light powders and stuff.
Yes, that's exactly what I did. It wasn't even life powders. Yeah. It was Mushroom Mancer and wide range. So basically, I was just like running around, and I even call that build the White Mage build. You can probably still, if you look up White Mage build, you'll see it. I even gave him the that armor set, the Bard armor set, which looks very like full of cloth, and then I painted it white. And I'm like, it's the White Mage build. And I'd jump in there, and that's all I would do. I'd be like, listen, guys, don't even worry about healing yourselves. Like, don't even think about it. And people that were in my lobbies, they never had to heal themselves. They just focus on dealing damage, and I would just heal and spam mount, because I remember that I needed to mount him to trigger certain phases and extend certain phases to maximize their DPS. So I had like all of this strategy laid out for that one fight. And, I personally loved it, but I know of a lot of people that hated it. And that was actually considered kind of a major achievement when you did it, when it was relevant, because not a lot of people were able to do it. And it was funny because I remember that I cleared it on one day, and the next day I went and I helped 269 and Paradise get their clear, which is really
Yeah, I did.
really
I did
cool.
my norm. I did the normal one. I don't think I cleared Extremoth until like Iceborne when I went
Yeah.
back, and even then it was not easy. It was tough
Yeah,
because I
but
had not played the game. But
It was-
it's funny just because when I fight the monster in Final Fantasy, he's a total pushover. It's so freaking easy.
yeah,
it's
yeah,
so
but
funny.
Behemoth and
And then you
Final
see, then
Fantasy
you
is
go to
really easy.
Rathalos and you see everybody getting their butts kicked. It's so funny. You're like, it's so easy. What the hell?
But it's funny
It's not-
because back then I wasn't exactly aware of who Yoshi P was. And I remember everybody
Yeah.
making a big deal that Yoshi P was there during the first time that they played and they showcased Extremoth. And now, right now that I know who Yoshi P is, I'm so much more
yeah.
reverent of what happened there with Ryozo and Yoshi P getting together and they're fighting Behemoth and Monster. And I was like, oh my God, that was so important for both the communities, right? It's
Oh, yeah.
freaking awesome, dude. But yeah, so
But yeah.
it's important that we keep in mind that not everybody wants those MMO mechanics. But having said that, yeah, Alatreon and Fatalis were definitely prog fights, even though they didn't have MMO specific mechanics. They were prog fights, which is
and
a
you
fight
got
where
you got
slowly
rewards
learn.
because
yeah,
you'd break apart, you'd get a reward, and you'd slowly gear up, and
Yeah.
it felt very much like a really good idea of how to take an action game and add in a little bit of MMO mechanic.
yeah. I particularly remember like the crazy strats that I did for Fatalis and the 13-hour. There was a day where I just played the game 13 hours straight until I got one kill on Alatreon that I was happy with. I'm like, I want one kill that I'm happy with.
There's only one thing that bugs me
Slaplands
about
and-
Alatreon, though, that still bothers me, is they say that its horns give him the power to change element, but when you break them both,
He can still do it. Yeah, he
I
should
don't
stop.
like that. I don't
agree.
like.
I agree. He should. He should stop.
Luckily, he'll die before then, but that's a DPS check. But it's like,
I mean, not always. I had a couple of attempts where I remember where I was like, I can still kill him, but I'm gonna die once because I can't stop him anymore. And it was actually challenging for me to break the horns with the gun lance. I struggled with that. It was always the hardest part of the fight is like I gotta break this horn. This horn's gotta go. But it was brutal.
and you do it, and they're like, doesn't matter, still gonna change. You're like, no.
But there's one thing that you said earlier that I wanted to talk about, which is you said Monster Hunter World Iceborne is you said it's your favorite Monster Hunter, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, it's my favorite Monster Hunter game. Yeah.
I've been thinking about
At this moment.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot, and I find it interesting that I don't think Iceborne is my favorite Monster Hunter. I think I liked Base World more.
Oh, interesting.
If that makes sense.
No, it makes sense.
Because I love the monsters that they've added, but I didn't like the mechanics of Iceborne as much as World. Like
Interesting.
Claw.
I actually, I liked.
Go ahead.
Not to say I liked the mechanics, and the thing that bothered me more about Base World was that it was such a good game, but there were some real points of aggravation when it came to progression in that game for me. Mainly like the like finding the tracks and just the horrible pacing in that. The story was whatever, but like Iceborne just took everything and dialed it up for me. Like to me, that was like the perfect way to expand on the ideas that they had, and the quality of life over across the board was just like. Mwah. But I mean, when I say Iceborne is my favorite, it is saying that World is also my favorite because it is still Monster Hunter World. It's just I really appreciated that revision of it.
It's just, to me, I feel like the clutch claw thing, which one of the things that I've realized is that I don't like the degree of control that we were given over the monsters, which is something that they've even expanded upon in Rise and Sunbreak.
Yeah, it's too much.
By giving us wyvern riding, and I'm just like, this is way too much. I'd never want to see this. Like, I think it was fun for you to do it once. I never want to see it again.
No, the idea is they're supposed to be wild monsters, right? You're not supposed to be able to control them. And I agree with everybody who said that the problem with the clutch claw is that it was so integral that it became a scripted action you had to do. Yeah. And that just is like takes away from the whole feeling of just trying to wrangle a wild wyvern. So, I mean, there's certainly a lot of things I still don't like about Iceborne World, but I think as an overall experience, but also, you know, I did get to experience playing it with somebody my daughter, so that also raises it. But I think it was the end. I think it was just the additional monsters to me were so Call of Tarath, Safijiva, Alatreon, Fatalis. They were so much of a home run to me and Celiana that I was just like, because I did not like Astra at all, but I love Celiana.
I like both of them, to be honest. I love both hubs for different reasons. But Celiana is, like, I mean, there's a reason why Celiana is the track that I use on most of my videos where I just need a nice, chill track. I'll instantly get Celiana because Celiana just feels like home when I play that track. It's like, I'm home. There's like a dun, dun, dun. It's really, really cool. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, Base World I think was better because... And it's one of the things that potentially I want to talk about you more in the next podcast because I don't want to expand upon this concept too much. But it is the concept of a lot of times less is more and potentially Sunbreak is too much in terms of complexity. And people are like, well, what do you mean?
Mechanical complexity
it's not that hard. And it's like, you need to understand, if you are listening to this podcast, you are a very specific individual. I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm saying like you are part of a niche inside another sub niche which is like you're part of a small niche, which fundamentally is Monster Hunter players. It's not a huge niche, right? So you're already part of a small niche, which is you like Monster Hunter. You're part of another niche, which is you like Monster Hunter and you consume content. And then you're part of a third niche, which is you like Monster Hunter, you consume Monster Hunter content, and you listen to the Third Fleet podcast. That's a niche within a niche within a niche. And this is just like me oversimplifying it. There can be even more factors to it. But fundamentally, for you and for me and for Gaijin, like the mechanics of Sunbreak are not super complex. Like we figured out, we know how to play it, we can figure out any weapon that we want. Most likely for most of the people listening to this, you can also figure out any weapon that you want and use the moveset correctly and all of this. But when you think about the broad appeal for a newcomer, it's going to be damn near impossible for them to properly understand the weapons. Whereas if you look at World, they were much more simpler even than the previous entry, which was Generations Ultimate, where the weapons were far more complex. And I think that there is a beauty in that. And that, things are simple. And the fact that they are simple, it makes it so that I feel much more comfortable, like, oh, I'll play Switch Axe now. I'll play Charge Blade now. And you can constantly swap between weapons and not feel like you're losing experience on some of the other weapons. Because, for instance, if I was to do, say, like for the next 2 weeks or so, just play Charge Blade, when I get back to Gunlance, I'm going to struggle. Despite the fact that I've played Gunlance for thousands upon thousands of hours, I'm going to struggle a little bit with it to get back into the flow of like, oh, I have quick guard and quick reload and blast dash and all of these. Like, there's maybe too much in Sunbreak, and I'm hoping that the next Monster Hunter simplifies it a little bit so that people feel more comfortable going out of their comfort area, playing other different weapons. I think it'd be interesting. But yeah,
I got a slightly different approach on that one. I think that the mechanical complexity of Sunrise is certainly a hell of a lot higher than the base games do, like the generational base games. But I also think that's by design, and I think that I would have liked it less if they had pushed it back a little bit more. I think the fact that they're going all the way out and saying, okay, this is Street Fighter Alpha, this is totally different, like we're just going to go with it, that's better, because a half-ass attempt would start to get really confusing, like what's the identity of this game. So I like the complexity of Sunbreak quite a bit. And I'm not with you on Wirefall. I don't think it's too powerful, and I enjoy it. But but it's different. It's unique, and I'd never take these portable series games as being a demonstration of what they might do with the next big game.
Yeah.
I think it's a testing bed for ideas, and it should feel different. Is it my preference? Probably not. Is it fun as hell? Yeah, of course it is.
But like I said, I don't want to talk too much about that in this podcast because I want that to be a topic
that's a more nuanced
really
topic.
Dig super deep into in the next time that we get together, because I want to take some notes and really talk about specific things such as also the game structure and all of that. So to wrap things up, because I know you got to get the hell out of here, get ready for raid. I wanted to talk about sales figures. Sales figures, dude. You know the numbers. The numbers of
recently, right?
the numbers of all of their major game series which I'm assuming is like all of the games in the series like put
Yeah,
together
yeah,
in
the
a sales
franchises.
figure. And I have here the numbers for all of them. And Monster Hunter is currently the second one. And some people might get confused because they're like, but they said it was their best game of all time. It is the best individual selling game
Yeah, but
of
as
all
a
time.
franchise.
But as a franchise, the franchise is not the most
Is
selling.
it Street
one.
Fighter or Biohazard that's number one?
It's Biohazard. Biohazard,
Okay.
which for the people in the West, it's Resident Evil. Biohazard is what they
sorry.
call it in Japan. But yeah, Resident Evil is the top one with 135 million sales of like across all of the Resident Evil games and all the different platforms and all of that.
That is amazing.
135 million. Then Monster Hunter comes in second with 90 million, which
Ooh,
it's an
that's a
interesting
huge jump.
It's an interesting number because I believe that the reason that it's currently 90 is because when World became as popular as it was, a lot of people went back and they were like, oh, I want to check out what it was like before. I want to get Generations and I want to get For You and all of these things. And you constantly have people diving into the old ones. Like you even have Hey Jay.
I
doing a
don't.
series
I
on
don't
For
think it's
You
that.
and
I think
For
it's
You
like,
and-
you know how much World and Iceborne and Sunbreak sold? It's
Yes.
crazy.
Yes, I do, because
It's
I'm
ridiculous.
gonna get into it in a second here,
Hit
but
it.
we'll talk about that too. But yeah, so then the next for the people curious, next you have Street Fighter, Mega Man, Street Fighter with 49 million, Mega Man 38 million, Devil May Cry 28 million, and then it's like smaller games like Dead Rising,
Yeah.
Marvel's Capcom, Ace Attorney. I thought Ace Attorney would have been more popular. It only sold like 9.8
Nah,
million.
that's really niche.
It's very
fun, though.
niche. Yeah, Dragon's Dogma actually is in the list with 7.2 million. So incredibly underrated. Listen, if you're listening to this podcast and you've never played Dragon's Dogma, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and go buy it right now on whatever platform
On
you
any
want.
platform.
Go buy
you know,
Dragon's Dogma.
I enjoy that on the Switch actually.
Yeah,
Just as much as I did on the PC because the performance is so good.
it plays so good on the Switch, dude. It's insane. I wish they'd make like a physical version of it on the Switch. Is there a physical version? I don't think there is. I think it's only
I
digital.
don't know. I would buy it just for the bookshelf.
I want more physical versions. Dude. I've been buying a bunch of physical versions recently. I love physical media. Freaking
Okay, I'm on the timer.
yeah.
Give me the numbers.
yeah,
Give me
yeah,
the
yeah.
numbers.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we got the numbers. So for let's start on the lower end of the recent games, which would be Sunbreak. Sunbreak sold 4.9 million copies across PC and Switch so far. 4.9 million copies. Then you have, I think the next one would be Iceborne, right? Yeah, Iceborne sold
That's like
10 million
9.7?
copies.
10 million.
10 million. So Iceborne is also doing fantastic. Base Rise, 11.7, which is interesting because, you have a lot of people that say, oh, Rise was clearly not that successful. Yeah, it only sold 11.7 million copies. And
That's insane.
this is a number, I don't know when this number was updated. This article was updated 1 day ago. Okay, so it was updated 1 day ago. I don't know if it's reflecting the sales on consoles yet, which probably bumped this up by a couple of million, maybe. Not sure.
Yeah.
But 11.7 million on Base Rise. And then you have on World 18.6 million units sold. Dude,
Jesus.
that is
I mean, people got to
amazing.
realize, like, when a Monster Hunter game came out here, it's like a really good release was like 3.5 to 4.5 million, like that range. And then the US would be like 500,000. And then in recent years, like for Ultimate or Generations, they'd hit like 1 million. So you're talking like global sales of like what, 6 million, 6.5 million. So you're talking like Rise alone gained like 11 plus million and 18 million on this and that. It's crazy bonker numbers. Like
It is-
it's no
it is
longer
wild.
a small franchise. It's big time. It made it.
And
Yeah, big.
another interesting thing here that actually surprised me is that Generations Ultimate and Generations beat For Ultimate, which I'm like, wow, really? They did, because Generations Ultimate is
Yep.
4.5 million. But then again, Generations Ultimate came out on the Switch, so it's not fair. I feel
Yeah,
like
it's not
Generations Ultimate, it's not fair. But Generation
not fair.
alone beat For Ultimate with 4.3. For Ultimate only sold
that I
4.2
felt
million.
was the right approach of like 4 broke it in, so there was an appetite for it. But I
Yeah.
also think because that was the most action oriented type it's ever been, I thought that was a great fit for everybody. That's when they really started to shift away from the slower more simple gameplay, so to say.
But anyway, team, Gaijin needs to go kill P8S. So we're gonna be wrapping it up here. If you guys enjoyed this episode, then feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that stuff. Do remember there will be links.
Anything else you want to hear us talk about? Yeah, put it in the comments.
Put it in the comments. Suggestions. We're constantly looking at it. And if you want to go ahead, and there's going to be links to Gaijin stuff in the description where you can go subscribe, and you'll see no videos whatsoever.
None at all.
Thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe,
and happy hunting.